All right, so the next project is the form plush animal, plush toy, whatever you want to make. We're going to start tonight by modeling a little rubber ducky. Granted, mine still only has one eyeball, mainly because, sure, I don't know, maybe it traded its eye for knowledge. I don't know. It's Odin the duck. Or we have our plush little fancy dinosaur and our thagomizing surfboard riding stegosaur. Ultimately, your model will have to be some sort of sufficiently complex model of some sort of plush toy. Animal, yes. Pokemon, yes. Plant, rock, whatever. Just has to be sufficiently complex. Granted, a soft rock is okay. That's more like yacht rock. But anyway, more of go more like the animal, something like that. But we can certainly talk about other options. It does have to have some kind of accessory. What that means to you, it's up to you. We have the surfboard here, the extra fancy top hat, or like I was showing on here before, my little duck can have a fancy, fancy flowing super cape, or even an adorable little cowboy hat, or a little neckerchief. I don't know, whatever. Whatever you want to have as an accessory, that's up to you. But I want to show you how you can model a basic little duck to start with. So now you don't have to do this, but I'm going to start a new project. And obviously from here, always, especially when you start into this project, save. Save early, save often. Sample rubber duck or rubber rock, apparently. Because form workspace can sometimes eat up resources to where you get some weird stuff happen. So if you would like, you can most certainly work from canvas images. You don't have to, nor do you have to perfectly stick to them. This is going to be your interpretation of something. So even if you start with images as a starting point, you can always change it out from there. I am going to start with a canvas. Rubber duck from the front. So I will select the front view. It's going to be kind of tiny. That's okay. I will calibrate in a moment. Repeat, because it does help if you can manage, and if you are working from images, try to get at least two views from the front, side, or front and top, anything like that. But however you can manage to get a front and side or two views to work from, that is really best. So I'm going to calibrate this first. So right click to calibrate. This can be a little tricky, but point to point. Oops. What's going on here? Hello. There we are. That was odd. Why isn't it letting me calibrate? What's going on here? Oh. So I'm trying to calibrate the front view while looking at the side. That's problematic. There we are. That helps a lot. That's a teeny tiny little duck. Let's bump it up to like, I don't know, 100 millimeters. Cool. Now, the trick is, if you're trying to calibrate two, is to get them close to the same. This one, I don't know. Let's see what happens with 100. Try to move around. Yeah, that's way off. So this is where the calibrate thing really kind of gets difficult. And sometimes it's easier just to do this manually. But in this case, we'll just try something like 80. That looks not terribly off. Close enough. All right, let's try moving at least now. We'll move the front view up just a wee bit. No, not bodies. It's going to be... Look at that. Come on. My little computer is kind of lagging a wee bit. Come on. It's not letting me move it. Probably have to do it right from the get-go. Great. Let's move it up a teeny bit. Fine. There. Close enough, that'll work. Ultimately, I'm just needing this for reference points. Okay. Great. Let's save. Canvas. Yeah, I know I misspelled that. Images, whatever. Close enough. All right. Our starting point. Best thing to do with this is pick a side and start from there. So we've got a starting point. I'm going to start with create form. I think it's best for this one. I'm going to use a box. Now, again, the box forms, the angular forms in the form workspace are kind of rounded. You do what you need to do. I'm going to start on the side, pick a spot. Remember, you have two options to create your rectangle, either center point or 2-point, whatever seems reasonable. I'm going to start kind of in the center, outward from there. Now, remember, keep it simple for now and build later. Now, right now, one of the things, the direction is starting from one side. Let's do symmetric, so at least it's starting right in the middle, and let's apply symmetry right now. Length, nope, that's not the right one. Width, nope, that's not the right one. Height, sure, apparently left to right is height. But you can see the green line going right along my canvas image. That's what I do want. So from here, you can kind of stretch and shrink it a little bit, just to kind of get it close to. I'm going to end up with something kind of like a weird soap bar, but that's okay. Looking around, that's about simple enough. Okay, if you want, you can certainly add at least a couple more faces, something else to work from, but we can always add complexity later, and that's how you should approach this. Keep it simple for now, get a general shape, then add detail later. So that little form with three sides to the length and 2 top and bottom, sure, that works. Okay. From here, there's going to be a lot of just simply push and pull. This project is a real workout with the edit form tools. So I'm going to start with the edit form. Like I said, start from one side, stay on one side for now. Let's work by edge. All right, let me zoom in, grab that edge. I'll use the free transform, which is the square between, and just kind of drag it upward. Little ducktail, ooh. Just grabbing some edges, kind of moving them around, sort of kind of about where I want it to be. Honestly, a lot of this is just getting it to where you feel that's about right. Now I'm seeing immediately, I need some complexity here around the tail because I can't isolate it very well. So let's hit OK with the edit form. And let's insert an edge. I want to select the tail line, but I want lines on both sides. So I'm going to go to insert side and go to both. Remember that this goes by a 0 to 1 factor. 0.5 is right in the middle. 0 is closer to the original line. 1 is to the next adjoining lines. So 0.5 is smack in the middle. You can see my green lines appearing. Good. Hit OK. It adds a little bit of complexity. If I orbit around to see, because I have symmetry on, it does it to both sides. That's what I want. So I'm just going to keep working this little bit to just kind of reshape and get my little ducktail a little bit closer to where I want it to be. If I need to move things up, down, left and right, all that is fine. If I need to add more complexity, like it looks like I might need to here, I will do that. But that gets me really close. So I'm going to pause there and check on stuff. And get the tools to come back up. Okay. So working on that. Cool. Now, a couple things you might find that, you know what, that works pretty well. What if I would need to add more? Well, that was the whole point of what we were talking about before, of you can also do things like rotate and things like that. If I want to get that down further, great. What if I want to add and actually project upwards? Well, what I could do with that is I can select the faces. Remember, press and hold Alt, or I think it's Option and Alt on Mac, and drag out, and it actually extrudes. Now, the problem is, if you only select the face, you're going to end up with duck butt. You have to select the face and the edge that's between. So let me Control Z that, or Command Z that. So I have the face selected, but I have my select options by everything. Also select the line between. Now, when I press and hold Alt and drag outward, well, I don't know why it's not doing it correct. Oh, because even though I have it selected, for some reason, sometimes it doesn't select all the things correctly. There we go. If you select the adjoining line in both faces, you get a direct line. Now, this gets all kinds of funky. Frankly, doing it this way would have been a workaround for adding those lines, those edges between, but more of if you want something like this, that works well. Careful rotating, because you can quickly invert the selection and get not what you want at all. But this is also where you can keep playing and do things like, let me hit OK there, and let's go to modify and crease. Like I showed you with modeling the knife in the previous project, we can make little ducktail nice and sharp. So that's really all that's for. That's a good little option there. A lot of this is going to be back and forth. Go back. All right, now go back into edit form and keep tweaking it. It's however you want to work. That's really the name of the game with this project. So I'm going to select all of these and maybe kind of drag that back a little bit, rotate that a little bit, whatever. Just showing you the different directions. Okay. Now that I've got this more or less where it works fine enough, this would be a good time to now rotate and look from the front. I have the two images, but also from the side, looked okay. From the front, that's definitely a shaven bar of soap. Let's stretch that out a little bit. Now, you can obviously continue to use the edit form. This whole thing, I could actually just select the entire thing and use the scale tool, which is these lines between, and just stretch this wider. But that's not going to get me what I want. What I want is just to select some of these faces. So let's say just these two sides. Now go to the front and drag that outward, and you can see what starts happening. It does not stretch the tail, nor really the front, but it does stretch the sides. So you can just play around with a lot of this. Now, this isn't quite where I want to be yet, and I'm not going to go all the way to the wings because I'm going to add those wings afterwards. Now, maybe I'll select some of the lines between and shrink that back inward so I have a bit more taper to it. This, again, so much of this is simply playing around and getting to where it looks about right to you. That's really all. Sure. Duck body enough for me. I'll go ahead and save that. And check on you. So now that my duck has a body, let's give it a head. So we're going to treat this kind of like how we did for the spoon. You could technically sculpt this entire thing out of one single body, but I want to do it this way instead. So since the duck's head is basically just a little squishy ball, well, then let's just use a sphere. That makes sense. I'm going to select the sphere tool, starting from the side profile plane, and just select somewhere in the middle. Now, one of the things about this, I selected sphere, not quad ball, which is essentially a box that has been inflated to the point of being a sphere. The reason I wanted sphere is because I wanted to make use of the two poles, because that kind of looks like an eyeball to me. So yeah, why don't I just turn that into an eyeball? Okay. You can dial down the complexity for here if you want, or you can keep it where it is. It's up to you. Doesn't matter. I am going to add symmetry, mirror, hide again. So the green line is hide canvases from left to right. Good. Hit OK. Here, same thing. Using the form workspace, let's select some faces like that one and just start dragging outward. We're going to end up with kind of like a weird little like egg shape. Makes sense there. And just kind of keep pushing, pulling, moving things around to where it looks about right. Don't forget to occasionally also turn to the side, see what it looks like there. Yeah, that's actually not bad at all. Leaving it as a sphere, that's fine. From the right here, you're probably going to want to figure out, well, it's kind of egg-shaped, but I want it like an actual duck bill. You can certainly sculpt this out or drag it back down, and maybe instead, I actually want to use the extrude option. So yes, select the face, but use the selection box to get both faces and the line between. Press and hold Alt and extrude outward. Much more bill-like, instantly. Because I grabbed the line between, I do not have a duck butt in the face. I have an actual line there. You can use the scale tool as I zoom in. Remember, the scale are these line series around the box that actually widens it. Don't forget to grab the edges too, otherwise you'll end up with a really horrifying face here. But keep scaling around, getting to basically where you want it to be. Now, we could sculpt this in to where we could actually sculpt the bill in place if you want, but I want to show you an easier way to do that afterwards. Essentially, though, if you did want to sculpt the bill in, what you could do, I don't know, let's drag that face in a little bit. Do the selection box, Alt extrude. something to that effect. Then maybe like drag this line way back, and you can see how I can start to create a mildly horrifying, but still technically a bill. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go back before I did any of that and leave it kind of like this. If you want to widen it still, sure, go for it. Rotate tool works nicely. Okay. That's not perfect, but good enough for now. And duck head it is. And there, I'll check on you. All right, so now I want to join these two together. But a couple of problems here. I want to use bridge, but remember bridge works on, and let me go ahead and hide my canvases. I don't really need those anymore. I want to bridge these together, but bridge works by building a bridge between. And you have to have the same number of faces to make that work. So what I need to do is basically open up the body and the head to make these openings that I can bridge across. So what makes sense is to start by selecting that middle face and just hitting delete. Now, the good thing is that rounds it out. The bad thing is that kind of makes a hole right in the middle. It makes it look more like a clog than it does a duck. So what I'll probably have to do is either tweak this a little bit or use the edit form. Let's select by line. And I'm just going to double click so it selects the entire opening. And I'm just going to kind of rotate this and drag that opening around to where it makes a little more sense. I might have to use a scale tool to widen it. I'm just playing around basically just so it makes a little more sense. Now, made sense from the side. From the front, holy crap, that's way too big for sure. Let's use the same scale tool, shrink it down a bit. That looks about neck size. Okay. Now I need to do the same for the neck, for the head. If I select up here and hit delete, all right, you can see how that goes, but that kind of puts the whole thing too far back. Well, if you want, it's your duck. You don't have to follow the pictures. So I could just select the whole top, press move, and drag that forward a bit. That works. Or if you want, let's go ahead and use the edit form tool again. By line, double click on the neck hole, rotate, and drag that more into position. I'm going to have to use the scale tool to widen it a little bit so they match a bit better. And get them close. Remember, with the bridge tool, do not have them touch. You need to have that space between. All right, that looks good. Now let's go to the front view, see what that looks like. That's not bad. That's getting pretty close. Let's use the same scale tool, widen that neck hole. Now they're going to look about the same. Okay, hit OK. The other thing is the faces need to match in number. So let's look at this. At the bottom, what's important is not these corner ones that only meet at a vertex, but the actual edge lines, the face edge lines. I have 1, 2, 3. These don't count. Let's look at the top. The neck, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. That does match. The number of edge lines matches. The fact that this face has a corner that meets the vertex doesn't count, just like that one does. So these two, top and bottom, don't matter. That means a bridge should work. I say should. Before you do anything, definitely save. Ready for a bridge. And let's try it. Go to Modify, Bridge. Double click on one side. We'll start from the neck, or from the head. Switch the toolbox, side 2. Double click on the body opening. I'm getting a warning that immediately disappeared. Not very helpful. Let's do a preview. If it goes through, that means you got it. I would definitely reduce the number of faces down to 1 or 2. If you need to keep the creases, if you wanted to have like a really sharp neck duck, do that. But otherwise, that actually worked. Let's hit OK. Bam. A somewhat stout-looking duck-like shape. Cool. Save. Bridge done. Or drone. Now we'd start adding more features. But I'm going to pause there and check. All right, cool. So that works. That's pretty much where we're going with this. Now, we can obviously continue to make changes to this. I want to show you how to do some other things, but this is where you've got a basic form now. This is where you could absolutely start really playing with these things. So let's say, you know what, I like my duck, but I kind of wanted to give it more like I don't know, let's make it more like a pterodactyl. So let's select all the things. I'm going to select by the back here. I'm going to click and drag and shrink it. And let's make this more like a pterodactyl. Cool, why not? Just because it's mine and I can do what I want. Keep shrinking using the scale tools. Nice. Okay. What if I decide I want to make this whole thing, and let me use a selection line instead. Let's select all down here. Oops, I think I missed one. I needed a little bit more. There we go. And I could drag this whole thing out. Now that just screwed everything up, but press and hold Alt and it extrudes. And now I have a mildly horrifying long neck duck. Rotate it over. Sure, why not? This is what I mean by you can absolutely mess around. I think something happened there. I don't know why that little line is there. That's probably going to be a major problem in a little bit. But you can absolutely start to tweak this. You could build onto these things like, I don't know, what if my duck needed to be horrifyingly or truly horrifying and I wanted to have appendages? Well, let's select by face, and I'll grab one of these faces here, press and hold Alt. Whoop, don't know what I just did. I can actually extrude outward and start giving it arms instead, because what duck would be complete without actual mammalian hands? Moving them down, rotating into position, Alt again, scale it down a little bit. Maybe I go forward and actually give it flippers. I don't know. This is entirely your own thing. Slightly terrible. But that's what I mean by you can really play around with this. You can really play up the sculpting as well, even to the point to where, all right, my now nightmare duck has little fin fronts. What if I stretch that out using the scale tool? Let me rotate that forward a little bit. Now I could go and hit OK. I could actually divide that up, like insert edge. And let me just go to single. I want it right in the middle. Do that again. I'm just making some additional lines here in the middle. Now I have edges that I can actually, where I was accidentally using the form workspace and accidentally dividing things, I can intentionally do that now. And let's give it some form of claws, or, oop, I think I did something really bad there and twisted things up. That's probably going to give an error. But I can keep doing stuff to this effect, making it far, far worse. For some reason it's twisting as I scale it down. But if I do this individually, I can keep going and just really making just an absolute atrocity out of this thing. There we are. Now my duck is absolutely just horrible. But it's your duck. You do whatever you want. But ultimately, we're gonna discuss next time how you can do a lot more sculpting with a single form. But this is basically the whole point, is that the sculpting environment you can do a lot with. Now, let's see what kind of errors I get here. Let's go to finish form. Yep, that's what I figured down at the bottom. Our edges are crossing, so let me have to fix this a little bit here. So probably what I'm gonna have to do. Yep, I can see it now. Go back to edit form, and I'll just have to like probably move some of these outward a little bit by that face just to spread it out a little bit. They started to self-intersect. That's all. This is where things get really confusing, and it's real easy to get lost. So just be cautious doing anything like this. I don't mean as in like making nightmares. I just mean like crossing faces. That's it. Let's try that. Oh God, it worked. Sweet, man-made horrors beyond comprehension. All right, let's save that, and I got my nightmare duck. Now from here, let's make it pretty. So before, if you wanted, we could have tried to divide up the faces there to create eyes. Often enough, I have found it makes a lot more sense just to then drop in a sphere. So I'm just using the sphere tool about in the middle. I don't know, let's give that 10 millimeters, maybe 15. Make sure you don't do a cut, but a new body. Hit OK. Make sure I have my eye, and now I can move that into position to just kind of have that poking out the side. Cool. Now I can do a mirror on that. Select that body. My mirror plane is simply the origin plane, and now that's going to be on both sides. Good. Okay. Let's throw some appearances on there. So, well, why not? Let's do some paint. And heck yeah, metallic powder flake yellow for a duck. Why not? There we go. Metallic black for the eyes. Cool. Just because I can. All right, so we got some basic appearances on there. Problem is despite the fact that I made this just absolute atrocity, I do want to give it a bill. Now, I can apply appearances by faces as well. So when I press A to bring up the appearance tool, say I want to use the red there to apply appearances, but I'm going to have to apply it by faces. If you look at the top of the toolbox, you can have a selection box by face, and I can select them individually. Problem is I am restrained to only use what is available. This is where you can make use of things like split face. So let me cancel out of that. I want to actually define where the bill starts and stops. So what I can do, this is going back to the older tools. Let's do a sketch. And I'm just going to do let's do a fit point spline up here. I'm just drawing kind of sort of around. Where should that duck bill go? I want that to be about the dividing line. Okay. That is exactly all I need. Just that single line, because then I can go modify, split face. What faces do I need to split? All of them. But essentially just, oops. Repeat that split face, but my selection had changed to the box. So I want to select all of those. So all the ones in there, I don't need the eyes. That's okay. Select my splitting tool is just that line. Hit OK. Now I have added in these lines here, so I have a lot more control about the face edges. Now when I bring up the appearance tool by faces, I can select the ones that I just created and have much more control over it. Still got to get the other side. There we go. All right. Now, one of the other things I told you, I wanted to show you how to create the bill. Well, not the bill, but more of the open mouth. I didn't feel like really sculpting in the sculpting environment. I didn't think it would be the right fit for this. So this is where you can just use things like split face or extrude, anything like that. So let's do something similar. Sketch. From the side, I'm going to use just a straight line. And let's just draw inward. Something about like that. Just that little V. I don't even need to enclose it. Hit OK, finish sketch. Now I can do split body. Split this body. My cutting line is the line I just drew. You can see how it extends outward. Hit OK. Now it just divided that into more parts. I can just hide that body, and now I have a slightly terrifying mouth. Pretty simple ways to make just cuts and things like that. You can do similar things to make, if you hadn't made these horrifying appendages, to give it little adorable wings instead. So with that, I need to add another sketch that would be like where the wing would be in a normal rubber duck, would just be little protrusions on the sides. So with that, sketch from the side, and let's just kind of draw a wingy thingy. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work because I made such drastic changes to the thing, but let's just kind of make a general sort of wing-like shape here. Okay. So that's floating inside. This should work. Sometimes emboss does not like to work from the inside. So let's go to create and emboss. Sketch profile is the faces. Even though I'm selecting everything over here. All right, well, let's see here. Yeah, what the problem is going to be is that there's too many topography changes to this shape, and emboss doesn't like to work on a face like this. So the problem is going to be is I went a little overboard with my duck appendages, and now my wing shape isn't working well. So maybe I can go back, edit that form, and make some changes. Now remember, right now it's giving me a weird image because there is no linear time capturing within the form workspace, just like a sketch. So if I make a change, it's going to leave this kind of ghost image here. And all I want to do is I'm going to use, you don't necessarily have to have done this, but I need to try to shrink this inward a little bit just to try to kind of normalize the edges out here. You can see this kind of ghost image here of where the line was. That's just Fusion's way of showing you what was, so you have some form of reference here. That's it. All right, let's try that. I just made a minor change to the topography. Let's go to finish form again. Yay, still no errors. Let's try to emboss again. That sketch profile on these faces. Great, it did work this time. So now I just have these little bump outs. That's it. Now you'd think it would want to try and work on both sides. You do have to do the emboss separately. And even though it's selecting the entire thing when I select by faces, it's the relative area you're selecting. Because I selected the bodies or the faces on this side, it knew to try to protrude the emboss on that side. Hit OK and repeat it. I have to unhide that sketch again. That sketch, but I'm going to orbit around. And when I select the faces, I'm going to, even though it's the exact same thing, I'm selecting on this side, it knows to emboss on that side of the form. And there you go. What should have been adorable little wing shapes on a nightmare. And you can try to add fillets on here. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes not. Yeah, it added a little bit. Let's try from the other side too. Yay, slightly rounded. There you go. So just an absolute terror, but what started as and should have been an adorable little rubber duck is now something to haunt everyone's nightmares. So you're welcome. But that's essentially how to make a simple rubber duck and how you can absolutely make it extremely differently. Next time we'll talk about really doing a lot more shaping with single forms. But essentially just know that you can make drastic changes to your form in the form environment using the edit form tool, and you can do a lot of sculpting with a single form. So whether or not you choose to make the bodies separate and join them by a bridge or anything, or you try to sculpt the thing from as few objects as possible, whether or not it just makes sense to you, or it's a personal challenge, more power to you. But that's pretty much the rundown. Hope that helps and gives you some ideas. one way or the other.